thought about that, but that's a good point. Yeah, yeah. Um,
So we've solved half of it. So why the right hand? We don't. I don't. We don't want to go there.
well,
We'll talk about this
because you
sometime.
wipe with the left hand.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
true. That's true.
Oh,
You
and
never
you
eat
well
with your left hand in
you make a
funeral
bond
plots,
and you make a bond with your right hand.
right?
If
Yeah,
you
you
make a
do.
bond,
You do.
so there's so many. There's look. This is a private conversation we need to have at some point, but this is very interesting because, you know, if we look at time, and we're talking about time in this, the time of creation, creating man in God's image, because if we look at time, then Jesus being the center of time, where actually everything starts going back to the days of Noah, actually to the back to the time that you're talking about that this happened. So, and we know about wormwood, right? So everything that was will be is what Jesus said. So we walk to the cross. The God's people walk to the cross by sight, and Jesus said we walk by faith, or Paul said we walk by faith and not by sight, because we're going back to the future, right? We're going
Yeah,
back to the
yeah,
garden.
yeah.
So the U-turn took place at the cross.
Hey, I was just looking here while we're talking about this Gulf of Aden on the southern tip there. They named it Aden, like after the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, well, why'd they do that? I found I forget the name of the little town there, right on the tip of Oman, just connected to the shore, is a crater impact. It's a crater where they've built a city. And the legend says that I think Adam is buried there, maybe one other of his sons, I'm not sure, but they're buried there in that crater. And up the coast near Jeddah, they say they have the grave of Eve. And it's a monument and stuff, and a big footprint, a big, huge footprint in stone. But
Jewish tradition holds that Adam and Eve are buried in Horeb, right?
well, that
At the
might be
cave
on
in
what they
Horeb.
determined where the Garden of Eden was.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, that's from the time of Moses, which was, at least 1,000, 1,200 years after the flood.
Right.
But anyway, that it just shows you the connection of all these things: Eden, Atlantis, the destruction of the giants, the hybrids,
Mm-hmm.
the Nephilim. Now, we find that for some reason, Smithsonian Institute and various other government and archaeological bodies are suppressing information on giants and giant bones that have been dug up in Europe and in South America and here. And here in the Bible, at the Golan Heights, there is a circle of stones, a set of 3 stone circles and then 4 empty ones, which I'll explain in a second, is a model of what Poseidon's island was, because it was 5.5 miles off the coast of Atlantis in the Persian Gulf now. And I find that symbol all through northern Arabia, Saudi Arabia, and the neighboring countries. Now, we know that there were giants in the Golan Heights because that's where Og, the king of Bashan, the giants, lived.
Right.
And these stone circles of Gilgal are like a stone representation of the 3 circular canals and 4 land masses that were dug by Poseidon around his island in a perfect circle. As Plato said, because he was a god, he knew how to scribe perfect circles around the center of his island for him and his wife Gaeto. Now, that symbol is there. Look at Stonehenge. It is almost identical again to the same idea.
Right.
Both of these sets have the stone circles, but they have a line cut from the outside straight through the center, and that was described in Plato about Poseidon's island.
Like an on-off symbol for a computer, the circle with a line through it.
Yeah. Someone mentioned that to me the other day, and it's very similar to that. Now, there are over 1,400 stone artifacts that were left behind in the northern third of the Arabian Peninsular Island. And I found those on Google Earth, and I'm going to put that into my disk or CD-ROM, I guess I'll do with it, so that people can plug it into Google Earth and see where I went and see all these things that are 200 to 400 feet long, straight lines of black volcanic rock with a circle at the end and a space, an empty channel, and then a raised little island of rocks in the middle. And these were markers showing where Atlanteans lived either before the flood or people remembering Atlantis used that symbol. And they used another symbol related to it, which was like a V of two of those lines heading into a circle with a raised area in the middle of it. If you go down to slide 19 and 20, you'll see what I'm talking about. Look at 19.
Okay. I'm there.
Okay, 19, you see that long, this is typical of one of the hundreds, well, thousands, there's 1,400 of them at least, of these stone monuments that were left behind. And you have that long line of rocks which represents the channel from the sea into Poseidon's Island, which is that circle with another little small island in the middle. But now go to the next slide, over to 20, and you'll see the other symbol that is found in great profusion as well. And in fact, in two areas, they're cordoned off by some modern group who have sealed off these areas, from people just walking in. And there's a huge one of the straight line ones next to this one, like a male and female.
Right.
And I looked at the close-up of Poseidon's Island, which I put to scale here, and you'll see that what he has done is he's drawn two lines out, representing his wife, and you'll see little bars in between there which show cutting through channels.
Right.
And then you'll see the center island, just like I've got there, and then the center where he had his palace with Cleito. So it was like the male and female aspect of Poseidon and his wife, Cleito. She was smaller, he was taller. Let me see if I've put that go down to slide 37.
Okay.
Now, this was made in India, and I'll try to say it, but it's something like the Vijayanagara.
Vijayanagara, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. That works. And you'll notice that they have a tall guy next to a short woman. You can tell by her broad hips there and the hairdo and stuff. And they are next to a thing where a channel, and it's been cut in a stone straight up to an island where the capital would have been. Now, this was made probably only 700 years ago, I think, or maybe slightly longer, but it wasn't made in ancient times. Somebody there was recounting the story of Atlantis.
And where is this one?
Say again?
Where is this?
You can look it up on the internet. It's in India.
Okay.
And read the story of the village and whatever. And I think one of the history channels is it History Channel? I think History Channel did a documentary in which this appeared. Or no, it might have been Ancient Aliens, or the thing that Greek guy with the funny hair MCs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but now if you go back to the main list of the slides there, you'll see slide 34 is the Gilgal circles of Og up in okay, and you'll see that one there, slide 35. If you click on it, that's in Wheatwood Moor in United Kingdom. Okay, and then if you go over to slide 36, that's in Galicia, Spain. You see that symbol is all through Europe, as well as Arabia and into India. And even in slide 38, you see in the Navajo stone carvings, which probably related to the Anasazi, you see a channel cut through these circles going into the center island with a god next to it with a trident.
With a trident,
and in the Greek legends, Poseidon is the god of the sea with his trident fork, but this is a trident triangle. And the little spikes off of his shield on the left side of this god guy are representing the 10 sons that Poseidon had, and on the top of his head are two, looks like clown or joker hats, but what they really are streams of water, because Poseidon was known because, being a god, he said, Plato said, he knew where to dig on the island to get water from under the ground to cause it to come up, hot water in one stream and cold water in the other. And I found that the island that I located, they have 3 aquifers underneath, and they're cooling now. But right across the bay from there in Iran, they have one that still has hot water springs from that aquifer related to it. So I found where he had his water, and it's just when you see it, there are other neat things about it.
That's amazing. That's just amazing.
It is. I mean, can you imagine trying to write all that down and do a lecture and stuff, and knowing all the time? Boy, what a secret! This is incredible. You don't want to lay down your pen and just daydream about it. Just such a huge find.
How many of these you've got the ones that you found pictured? Or are there more that you found that you don't have pictured.
Of these
this
circles
formation.
and lines. Yeah, there are more of those. Here's the other thing too, and this is a big thing. We know about Atlantis because of Poseidon and because of the Egyptian tale about it that was told to Solon, who then gave it to Plato to write, Critias and Timaeus. That's only one of the gods that fell to the earth.
That's right.
In the book of Jubilees, there are at least 200 that descended on Mount Hermon.
Yep.
And they divided the earth up amongst themselves, said Plato, taking each their own portion. So it explains why, because at the time they were all in one continent, but it explains why you have pyramids in South America, Central America, United States. I mean, you have them in Europe, not as many. You have them in Asia, you have them in India, you have them in China. That's why they all use similar technologies. And these are all other sons of God that fell.
This is interesting because right now, and I was studying this just last week, I even did a broadcast, a short broadcast on this. Don't ask me, you know how we're led to look at certain things. I got to looking at the altar of Pergamum. You're familiar with it's the altar of Zeus at Pergamum. And then I looked at 2008 Democratic Convention. I remembered that stage was built to look like the altar of Pergamum, which would have been Satan, Saturn, or Zeus's altar, the one that was moved to Germany out of Turkey during World War I. Wow! And I got to look at this because of Erdogan and what's going on with the Turkish coup.
Erdogan is really, I think he's going to fit into prophecy somewhere. He's just coming to the forefront, isn't he?
Well, the way that it's happening, and I see some things prophetically in this that could be. I'm not a date setter or there he is or this is kind of person, but there's a reason for everything. So if you've got a replica of this altar of Zeus, let's say our altar of Pergamum, which in Revelation 2, Pergamum is where Satan's throne is, a Satan's seat. So that altar would have actually is a way of Jesus saying the seat of Satan in Pergamum would have been Zeus's altar, the king of gods, the king of the Greek gods, right?
Yeah.
So if that's what Jesus was referring to in Revelation that he gave John, so we've got a replica of that in Berlin, Germany, that Hitler had moved there. Okay.
Right.
We had a replica of it built for the Democratic National Convention. You know where that was, in Denver, the Mile High City. Okay.
Did they? That's officially been recognized. They did it on purpose, or is
I've got a picture of it. Whether they want to admit it or not, they're saying it's the Capitol veranda and this and that put together. But no, if you look at it, there is an island where steps right in the middle of this thing, similar to this mound that you're looking at. I'll send you the picture, and it's round there that Obama would have been standing on to address the crowd during the Democratic National Convention in 2008. It looked just like the altar. And then if you go over to, I think it's pronounced Altar della Patria, it's in Milan. It is called the Altar of the Fatherland, actually, in English. It looks just like it. It's in Milan. I can send you links to this. We're located in Rome. It's at the Piazza Venezia. It looks just like it. And at the top of these things, there's the charioteer, and what would be called the Victoria or the Victor, and the four horses. So you've got the driver of the four horses at every one of these monuments. So there's one in Rome, there's one in Berlin that's closed for 5 years. They're doing renovations, and the original one was in Pergamum, and they built one in Denver at the Pepsi Arena in 2008 for Obama to stand in. I'll send you all this information that I got on this, because there's a reason for everything, Stan. They don't do these things for no reason because of their, you know how these people act. You know what they're trying to accomplish certain things in certain ways, and
under our noses, thinking they're getting away with it.
Well, let's look where we've got Hitler was right there in Berlin. Now we're looking at Asia Minor, where the original was, and we've got Erdogan, and in so many ways he is starting to act just like Hitler. I mean,